Holy freaking cow, now that's what I call epic. Season's greetings! This is MasachiX here, back with another review video, and I would like to wish you viewers happy holidays! This took a long time for me to make this review video, but here we are. And most likely this will be my last review video of 2020, if only because other games that also came out this year, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, I decided to save those until sometime next year. So in today's episode, at long last, I'm about to review an incredible game, Ghost of Tsushima. The latest game from a well-established company, Sucker Punch Productions. And this game definitely delivers on the goods after investing so many hours into playing this game. Now before I talk about the game, I'll give a quick synopsis of the company itself.
Sucker Punch Productions. Not to be confused with the 2011 movie Sucker Punch, these guys are known for the creation of two franchises, Sly Cooper and Infamous. But one thing I wasn't aware of is that the company has been around since 1997, with their very first game called Rocket Robot on Wheels for the N64, which I never heard up until now, and from what I read is actually a really good platformer. I might have to check that out someday. Anyway, I mostly know the company from the two series I mentioned, and I've invested so many hours on each game in both series, not only for their stories, but also for their responsive gameplay and very welcoming elements like Sly Cooper's use of stealth, or getting very effective abilities in the Infamous series. When I first saw the earliest trailers of Ghost of Tsushima, it was hard for me to make out on what it's all about, but the moment I saw that Sucker Punch is developing the game, for me, I was instantly sold. And as later trailers would show, it was definitely the right idea for me to actually purchase the game. Though I didn't start the game until this past month due to some unexpected updates that made the game even better, but I'll get to it later.
Preview after preview, it got me very pumped into playing this game, and when I finally did so, it was the only game that I was playing on my console for days until I finally defeated it. And the game is so great that I would find myself replaying the game for a second time. It's just that beautiful. So without further delay, here's my review of Ghost of Tsushima.
Before you start the game, you can select what language you want. Either keeping it in English, have subtitles while the dialogue is in pure Japanese, or play the game in what is called Kurosawa mode, in which the game is rendered colorless and filtered with some graining, while maintaining subtitles, and it even says it pays tribute to the late director, Akira Kurosawa, which is a nice touch and gives the feel of Japanese film noir from his movies. I find the setting of the game to be interesting, as it's set in Tsushima Island in the year 1274, in which the Mongol Empire have invaded Japan. I say it as such because when it comes to making a video game setting based on Japanese history, the most common wars that would be used as the basis would either be the Heian period, in which the Genpei War happened, or the ever-familiar Sengoku period. As the game takes place in 1274, Ghost of Tsushima happened 89 years after the Genpei War, but nearly 2 centuries before the Sengoku era would kick off. Even some items and set pieces that you come across make references to the Heian period. Just for an FYI, while the names of the characters are purely fictional, especially the antagonists, the overall setting of the game is definitely from actual history. You're in the role of Jin Sakai, the last head of the Sakai clan, who serves as the ward of his uncle, Lord Shimura, who is the Jito, or governor of Tsushima. He and Shimura would ride into battle as soon as the Mongols, led by Khotun Khan, the fictional grandson of conqueror Genghis Khan, landed on the shores of the island and battled against the Shimura army. Unfortunately, the battle didn't go so well, as the Shimura army was decisively defeated, with Shimura being taken hostage by the Mongols, while Jin was left for dead. However, hours later, Jin wakes up in a Mongol-controlled village, nursed back to health by a thief named Yuna, not to be confused with a Final Fantasy character with the same name, who helped him retrieve his gear and set off to Castle Kaneda, only for him to be defeated in a duel by Khotun Khan and thrown off a bridge but survived. After recovering again from another near-death experience, Jin realizes that attacking head-on is not the way to save Shimura, let alone the nation, so Jin sets off and explores the island, not only to recruit Yuna to his cause, but also other characters that he meets along the way, in order to save his uncle and retake the island back by force from the Mongols. And this is where I'll stop on the story, because for those that haven't played the game yet, I'll give you viewers a chance to experience the whole story yourselves. Just like Sly in the Infamous series, the narrative of Ghost of Tsushima is well told. Earlier, I've mentioned the late Akira Kurosawa, and it was from the director's movies like his masterpiece, Seven Samurai, that Sucker Punch drew inspirations from. The whole game not only centers on the motives on hand, but it also does a great job of telling stories of the inner struggles of the game's characters. Most notably, Jin Sakai himself, because as you progress with the story, for him to save the nation, he would often find himself struggling on whether to continue fighting through traditional means as Shimura would have wanted, or cast it aside in favor of performing unorthodox methods that are out of character for a samurai, given how the stakes are for him at that point in time. It's not like the Sengoku era and onwards that such unorthodox techniques are necessities in hopes of winning battles and uniting the nation, but in Jin's era, such practice would have someone be branded an outlaw regardless of motives such as Jin's wish of saving Japan from invaders. It's not just Jin that has a personal stake in the story, as other supporting characters have some personal conflicts of their own, and the game does a great job of helping you learn what these characters are going through. The whole story does get darker the more you progress, which is common in Kurosawa's movies. That's what I find great about the story, as it has so many themes that makes the overall narrative more sense, by combining moments of sorrow, deception, and hope, and when you play through the story, everything will be understood, though there will be moments in the game that will pull on your heartstrings, and believe me, you will feel it. Heck, you'll start getting those feelings when listening to some of the beautiful and well-composed tracks in the game, as the music is very somber yet ambient, that they bring such dramatic tone just like in old samurai movies. Graphics of the game look very beautiful, very rich in color of the whole landscape no matter where you ride. In fact, you'll be riding around the country so much and discovering new locations that are beautifully made. I mean, everything from the grasslands to mountains, villages, beaches, everything is very lively, and the designs of the villages, castles, and temples are well structured. The atmosphere is very gorgeous, and the game also has nice weather effects to give a realistic feel, like seeing actual wind blowing to fires blazing. Even the character designs are wonderfully made to look like actual human beings, and they are well animated, especially for the way they converse with each other, as if you're really watching an actual samurai movie. Sound presentation for the game is very excellent, as the overall soundtrack is full of beautiful ambience, and it does a great job of changing the tone between somber and triumphant, depending on the situation. The kind of method traditional Japanese dramas would use. As mentioned, you can set the voice acting between English and Japanese, and in my opinion, the voice acting of the game in both languages are well done, especially for actor Daisuke Tsuji, who not only provided Jin's voice in English, but they also have Tsuji's face nicely modeled for the character himself. In fact, all the voice actors in both languages have done a great job of giving the game's characters some personality. And then comes the gameplay. As you notice that even with so much armor, Jin Sakai is actually quite athletic, as you can move him however you like. You can hang onto ledges and climb high structures with his own hands, or with a grappling hook that he gets later in the story, as the game has the Infamous series gameplay style in mind, and the mechanics work well despite the game's overall setting. Just be warned that Jin Sakai is no Sly Cooper or Cole McGrath, as he can take fall damage from higher levels. The combat mechanics of the game are well executed, but will also throw first-timers off guard. What I mean is that while the flow of combat is very fluid, many players these days would instinctively keep mashing buttons to attack, when in this game, it requires more thought when facing your enemies. As the game tries to convey realism, so does the combat, as you can't just swing your sword wildly as if it was Dynasty Warriors. Just like in actual history and other samurai games before this, you have to watch how your enemies will attack, and it's either you dodge or parry your attacks enough to make them stagger, leaving them open for an attack. Later in the story, you'll learn some stealth techniques, as Jin is also armed with his clan's Tanto or short blade in order to take out enemies with stealth, either from behind or above, similarly to the ninja game series Tenchu, and there will be missions in the game that requires you to save hostages without being seen. But perhaps what I consider the best part of the combat system is Jin's flexibility in handling combat. You can either call your enemies out in a standoff and one-hit slash your opponents in epic samurai fashion, or take the careful approach and defeat your enemies ninja style. Either way, the ball is in your court. Jin's flexibility also comes from the game's open world aspect and his freedom of taking on the game's plentiful side quests, which in my opinion are not only fun to participate, but also recommended if you wish to gain not only more weapons and tools for Jin to use like short and long bows, but also gain some skill points to build up his performance depending on the mission, and learn some new fighting styles and techniques in order to take out enemies that are more resilient later in the game. More often than not, you'll find yourself getting some loot and materials not only from villages, but also from enemy strongholds, as you'll need them to enhance your weapons for powerful strikes, much faster stealth takedowns, and increase your defensive strength, along with gaining some extra perks depending on the armor you're upgrading. You'll also find many shrines that you can pay tribute to, which is also recommended, as you'll definitely need all the help you can get from the numerous charms that you can equip, and they will definitely help out on your journey immensely. That's what I find great in a game like this. Just like Spider-Man and Days Gone, I can take as much time as I like in order to get as many side quests done before taking on the main missions, and you get the satisfaction of building up your character to how you want, which makes some of the tougher challenges even easier to complete. Heck, I even got a kick out of the game's multiplayer mode that nobody expected, called Ghost of Tsushima Legends, in which you control your avatar and take on the game's original story. The avatar has 4 classes, and while they all play the same, each class has its own perks and signature techniques. You can only pick one class from the start, but as you progress with the game, you can have access to the other classes, giving you a chance to level them up and help you choose which class is useful in that particular mission. This mode has a variety of story and survival missions, each with different objectives to complete, and the difficulty increases depending on the gear you equip for your chosen class. It's possible to go to the story mission solo, but take it from me, I recommend not only having someone else play alongside you, but some missions are worth replaying if you want to get better equipment for later missions. Speaking of which, what I'm not showing in this video, as I don't want to spoil it too much, is that in Legends, there's also raid missions, which requires 4 players without the option of matchmaking. So you better hope that you have at least 3 other players in your friends list that are well equipped and willing to join and work together with you, as playing through the raids yourself is impossible. Overall, this is one of the best games I played this year, and I might even go as far as to say that it's one of the greatest games of all time. Sucker Punch really put so much heart and soul into creating this whole game and giving players the actual samurai experience, while also mixing elements of Infamous. This game is very hard to put the controller down, not only on the single player campaign, but also on the multiplayer as well. With Jin's flexibility and the numerous side quests in the game, the replay value is extremely high, that even I don't know how many hours I've sunk into playing the game, and I'm replaying the game again in New Game Plus. It's just a shame that in the recent Game Awards this year, it didn't win many nominations, not even Game of the Year, but at least it was able to take home Best Art Direction and Player's Voice. Congratulations, Sucker Punch Productions. I still think that aside from art direction, the narrative is told wonderfully and the audio design is very beautiful, both paying tribute to the old Kurosawa movies, and in both campaigns, the overall gameplay is just epic and easy to manage. This game definitely warrants a perfect 10 from me. It may not have been Game of the Year to the media, but in my opinion, Ghost of Tsushima is considered a masterpiece and to the eyes of players everywhere and in my own eyes, our personal Game of the Year.
2020 definitely is a hectic year, especially on the gaming industry, what with so many great new games to play, as well as new consoles entering the market. And this great game right here is no exception to it. So if you haven't done so yet, I suggest you make a stop at the store and get this game. You'll be in for hours of samurai action, and take it from me, you'll find yourself having a difficult time putting the controller down, because this game is just that astounding. Anyway, I hope you viewers like this video, and if by any chance you find this video interesting or find my other content in my channel interesting, feel free to follow me at any time on social media if you haven't done so yet. So what other game am I going to venture forward to next now that this review is under wraps? Well, right now it's up to more brainstorming as to what game I'll be reviewing next. That, and given how 2020 is not a good year overall, come 2021, I'll have to ease up a little bit on making content, as I do have some challenges outside of the camera. But don't worry folks, there will be more content coming soon from me for next year. Also, in closing, given how 2020 really does suck this year, just remember to take care of your health, be sure to wash your hands thoroughly, be sure to have some sanitizer on your person, remember to take the necessary vitamins that you need to keep your immune system active, and for the love of heaven, be sure to actually wear a mask whenever you go outside or visiting someplace that you like. And like I said, this year sucks, but all I can say is don't lose hope and stay strong, folks. Until then, this has been Musashi X, and I bid you all farewell. Take care, stay tuned, happy holidays, and I'll see you all soon in 2021.